this lesson, I'm going to show you how to draw your outlined animal onto a large piece of paper. So this is the final Zentangle drawing that you will be turning in at the end of the project. All right, so generally, regardless of what picture you have, generally speaking, I like to start in the middle of the animal's face. I think for the first one, I will draw the owl. Of these three, I think the owl is the easiest. It has the fewest amount of shapes. So the picture printed horizontally, even though the paper itself is vertical, I need that to match this piece of paper. So I'm actually going to kind of fold the sides down so that this shape matches this shape, okay? And if you have a picture that's vertical like this, you would draw your picture vertically. All right, so, but I'm gonna start with the owl first. Okay, basically this is one giant upside down drawing. You are simply drawing the black or color pencil outlines that you created. You can ignore all of the shading and the other stuff behind it. If you outlined in Sharpie, you can see it on the back. So if it's easier for you to draw looking at the back, that will work as well. But I think most of you will probably draw this way, so that's what I'll do as well. So in order to give myself a little bit of a guide so that measuring is easier, I mark the halfway point on all four sides of the picture. So this is about halfway, then this is halfway, that's halfway, and halfway right here. So it's hard to see on the camera, but I can see it. I can see the dashes pretty well. I'm gonna do the same thing pretty lightly on my piece of paper here. All four sides. That just gives me a guide so that I can make it drawn to proportion more accurately. Okay, so I can start this one of two ways. Like I said, a lot of times I like to start in the middle, which you can do, or you can simply start with one of the lines that are on the edge of the paper. So you can start with the wing, or you can start with the giant outline curve, but I'll start with the beak. And it looks like the beak is, it touches the halfway line, so it should be here somewhere. And then I have to look at how tall the beak is. So I'm comparing it to these halfway marks. So it's above the halfway point there. So it starts there somewhere. And then it's a bit below the halfway point here. This is a quarter of the way. So this is halfway, quarter of the way. So the beak should be like right around here. So it's pretty big actually. So I'll use these guides to draw my beak, and it looks like the beak is a little bit on a diagonal. So I'll try to match that on my picture as well. I have to make sure that the beak reaches both sides and then it doesn't go much further than this on the right side. So that's about the right size for the beak. The first shape that you draw is the most important because after that, you'll be comparing all the other shapes to it. Okay, so whatever you choose to do first, pay attention to those halfway marks. All right, now just like an upside down drawing, I'm gonna work my way out. I'm not gonna skip around. So I already did the beak, which means I am now going to work on the shapes that are directly attached to the beak, like maybe these eyebrows and the side shapes here. So the side shapes start here, they end right about there, and they stick out about that much. Connect the dots. Same thing on the other side, here, here, there. Okay, I think next I will work on the eyebrows. So for that, I have to make sure I get the corners in the right spot. It looks like this is halfway, so that corner is above the halfway mark, and then it sticks out about a quarter of the way. So right around here. So I'm going to make sure that curve ends right around here somewhere. Okay, and this corner is way up high and about halfway right there, so a quarter of the way in. quarter of the way in, really up high, right there somewhere. I'm just practicing my line before I actually draw it so that it matches. Okay, I think I like that line, so I'll just edit this a little bit to match. Okay, so you can see how my owl is turning out really large. I'm gonna finish up that eyebrow. Ooh, I drew it a little bit too big. That's okay. You know, I'd rather you draw too big than too small. Part of what you're getting graded on is the proportion, getting it accurate. So if you're drawing too small, you're gonna have a lot of empty space. But if you draw too big, it's okay if you know, maybe cut off the head like that much, as long as it fills the paper nicely. Okay, and so on and so forth. So the next shape would be the eye, then the rest of the eye, and then now I'm going more quickly. You make sure you take your time. And then the rest of these shapes. And so you can see how what I did with the beak kind of determined how big everything else is going to be. So it does look like my owl is going to be a little bit bigger, see I ran out of space there, than the original picture, but I don't really mind that, that's okay. So I'm just going to cut off a little bit there, not a big deal, and draw the rest of the shapes in. Let's say, I'm gonna try a different picture now. Let's say you are drawing this dog. The dog would have to be vertical, like so. All right, now notice the printed part it's a rectangle, but it's very close to being a square, and my piece of paper is very long. So I will likely have to just extend the sides of the dog further down so that it reaches it's gonna reach like the bottom of the paper. But you would start the same way. I would still find the halfway point, halfway point, halfway point, halfway point down here. And the number one most important thing is that first shape. So the first shape I'm going to draw is the nose. So be very careful about placing your very first shape on the paper. So this is halfway, and this is a quarter of the way. So the nose is right in between those two. So this is halfway. And I'm using the bottom of the paper just to like make the paper appear longer and match this paper a little bit better. So halfway, I'm double checking my word, quarter of the way, halfway, quarter of the way. So the nose, the bottom of the nose is here. So I'm gonna make the nose about this big, from here to here. And then I'm gonna draw that shape in and try to touch both of the dots I made, both of my guides. Again, I'd rather you draw a little bit too big than too small. That's pretty close. Do the best you can. So that's the shape for the nose I have. And then I do have these kind of teardrop shapes for the nostrils, and then you work your way out. So if you got the first shape in the right location and the right size, the rest should be a little bit easier. So I'm gonna draw this next red shape right next to the nose, and it should go from right here to right there. And then I'm looking at the distance here compared to the nose, so it's a little bit narrower than the nose, like right there, and then wide down here. So those are my guides, and I'm going to connect them now. Something like this. Same thing on the other side. And then draw the shapes attached to those. And so on and so forth. And you can see how, as I keep going, this dog is going to fill the paper really, really nicely. All right, hope this helps. Good luck.